Welcome to the first module where I'm going to be looking at the hotel industry and data that a company called STR provides. Now this first module is going to give you a background on the company STR Global and a little bit of a refresher on the foundations of hotel industry analytics, and it's something that you'll probably be familiar with already, except for a couple new issues and indices like index and rankings. The second module then is going to talk about the STR report, and that's really the focus of what we're interested in looking at, but this is just to put it into context. So STR is the recognized leader in the world supplying hotel data. So a lot of the slides in this recordings you'll notice are just examples of what STR can provide. They collect data from 70% of all US hotels and over 50% of hotels worldwide. So they're the largest company getting hotel information, which is really a powerful position to be in. So they provide weekly, monthly or daily reports to over 53,000 hotels in the world. So you'll find that general managers every morning when they get to their desk, they're going to go and have a look at their daily report that they get from STR. And that report, the STR report, I'm going to talk about in the second recordings. So they keep also a census of information of 160,000 properties, meaning that even the hotels they don't have information on, they have a collection of all the hotels that exist. And they're constantly, daily updating that database. And then you can see there is their website. I'd encourage you to go and have a look. As aspiring hotel managers, it's really important to understand STR as a company and some of the reports that they provide, and that's why I'm talking about the STR report with you in the next module. Here's an example of some information on Asia Pacific hotel investment news. I would recommend that you get subscribe. Doesn't cost anything, and that way you're getting their emails weekly or however often they're sending out their newsletters. So you can see in this example here, occupancy rates in Asia up in July, up by 2.1%, etc., as supplied by STR Global. Here's another one from Hotel News Now, and there's some information with regards to trends with supply and demand percentage changes in the month of June across different sectors. Sorry, my PowerPoint's cut off the bottoms there, but you'll see it on your actual PowerPoints. But you can see it showing you suburban, urban, resort areas and what the changes are occurring in those different markets. So STR are providing data in a whole range of areas. General managers, as I stated, often general managers' bonuses on their hotel's performance is related to the STR report. So it's really an important report. A convention visitors bureau, consultants, developers, they're constantly looking to see, what hotels are being built, the development of, what's in the pipeline. Financial firms, media, hotel vendors, government, and academics like myself. We actually hosted a training session for STR on campus, and we had industry and other educators coming along. So they're supplying a range of reports. You can have contractor subscription reports, like the STR report that we're going to be talking about in the next module, but then also there's ad hoc reports you can actually request. So you might want to get more information on the development within a particular region. You might want to look at publications on Asia Pacific and so on. Now here's a few slides I'm going to show you, and this is all supplied by STR. So if we want, as hotel students, you should understand what are the top 25 chains in the world, or what are, who owns what hotel. And here we can see Holiday Inn Express is the largest hotel chain in the world. And a lot of these hotel chains were actually, they started in the US, so you'll see a lot of them are US based. The next slide here shows us the top 25 parent companies in the world. So there's Hilton worldwide. So based on the number of rooms, Hilton is the largest hotel company, parent company. Now I thought I'd just put this in here to show you the range of hotels by location here. So you can see Intercontinental, Hilton, Starwood, they've all got most of their hotels in the US because they started in the US. Accor, that's a French company, so you can see most of their hotels are in France, but they're spread right across the world. Here's an example of Marriott and the types of chains that Marriott actually has. So they've got a range of luxury chains, African Pride, Bulgari, and then it goes down to upper upscale, and upper mid-scale, and a whole range of different names there in their chains. So Protea Hotel, well, it sounds like it's based in South Africa, Renaissance, and so on. Now, I just want to show you some slides that give you an indicator. You don't have to memorize this or learn it for your exam or anything, but this is just showing you the power of all the data that STR are providing. So here is looking at some world continental data, and it's looking at actual occupancy. So you can see the dip there that happened in it started going down from 08, 09, and bottomed out there in 2010, and of course that was a financial crisis. So now we've got Europe and America back to their current prior to the economic crisis there, financial crisis, and the others are actually catching up soon. Here's an example of data for continents based on the percentage change of RevPAR. So if we have a look at that, what do you notice? Well, Africa, you can see, has gone down by minus 2.8%, and the Middle East down by minus 10.2%. And of course, again, we can look at what's happening in the world to work out why that might be, and we know that there's a lot of civil war, terrorism issues, all those sort of things are happening in North Africa and in the Middle East. Here's some data looking at Europe, and you can see there, this is July 2010 year to date. Occupancy is up by 0.5%, our ADR is up by 2.4%, and RevPAR is also up by 2.8%. So European countries would be looking at, well, how does our country compare to the rest of Europe? And there you can see this graphic is showing you supply, demand, and RevPAR. So you can see the RevPAR is going up nicely from year to year, and again, you can see there the dip in occupancy in our financial crisis there. Okay, now this is showing us European cities. Well, Paris there, if you have a look, has the highest ADR. Now, I'm sure we can all guess why that might be the case. Paris being the world's top tourist destination, so they're able to charge high rates there. And then we can look, and we can see there Dublin has the highest occupancy. And when you investigate a bit further, you'll see that they actually don't have that many hotels in Dublin. Here's another example. Now, this is looking at Asia Pacific region, and we can see ADR occupancy across different countries in Asia Pacific. And if we have a look at the Maldives, you can see there they've got the highest ADR. So difficult to get to as a destination, and very expensive hotels there. Now we're just looking at cities within the Asia Pacific region by occupancy, ADR, and RevPAR year to date. So this is a snapshot up to July, and have a look there. We can see Sydney. Sydney's got nice ADR of around about $150, and RevPAR there. We move across around 70%. That good occupancy figures there. So now if we had to zoom in a bit more and look at Sydney as a destination, we can see, what days that they're actually performing the best. We don't have RevPAR there, but if you're looking at occupancy and rate, we can see Wednesday is the highest performing day of the week. And then you could also then as a manager say, well, why are we performing poorly or not as good on the Tuesday and the Thursday? And what strategies can we do to improve that situation? So you can see there's lots of information there we can get out of the data and by plotting it like that. So what I'd like to do now is just to take you through some of the categories of how we can get data out of STR. So obviously, so far we've been looking at geographic indicators. We've looked at continents, and then you can go down to subcontinents, countries, and regions. So here's an example, Asia Pacific. There you can then see the subcontinents, Central and South Asia, Northeastern Asia, and so on, and the countries are listed there. Here's a picture of hotels in the US. You can see that they're all mostly clustered there on the East Coast. And then here you can see the different regions within China. And then you can go, it goes down narrow again into different markets and tracks or sub-markets. So in addition to that, you can also get reports based on postcode or longitude, latitude, and so it's fairly, there's almost anything that you can look for. STR will be able to generate reports based on those geographic locations. Now, when we tend to think about hotels and how we categorize hotels, often we tend to think about star ratings. Now, typically the star rating system is quite flawed because there's not just one organisation that actually would categorise by stars. You can have a local, in Queensland we have RACQ, so they do their star ratings. You have lots of different star rating systems, and you'll get different standards of, you know, what we categorise as a 5-star will be different in Hong Kong, different in Dubai, and so on. So generally what we're categorising them is based on scale or class. Now scale has, you can see the different categories there, and this is generally used in America because they separate out independence from, you know, luxury, upscale, and so on. Whereas internationally, independence, there is more independence than there is hotels within the chains, whereas in the States it's the other way around. So the class system categorises independence into the different classes. So if it's a luxury independent hotel, it'll be categorised as a luxury hotel, whereas under scale, independents are sitting separately. And then of course location, urban, suburban, airport. Airport hotels often aren't necessarily competing with the city hotels. So they're going to be looking at other airport hotels as their competitors. And then of course price. So that's just a little bit of a snapshot showing you what the average rate, occupancy, room revenue is for different class hotels. So you can see the luxury class, the average rate's $270, quite a jump from the upscale of $162. And you can see there is the average occupancy, and that data is for 2015. Then of course we can look at size, which, you know, makes a lot of sense. If you think about hotels in Las Vegas, for instance, average 5,000 room hotel, you couldn't compare your property if you had 250 rooms to a 5,000 room hotel. Facilities are different, the whole focus and structure is quite different. So you could then say, well, let me have compare my hotel to other hotels of a similar size. Then you got different types of hotels, be it casino hotel, spa, an all-suite hotel. Because if you're comparing, for instance, food and beverage, for instance, an all-suite hotel may not even have any food and beverage outlets. So it's a bit hard then for you to compare your room revenue and your food and beverage revenue to properties like that if they're not comparable. And then there's other fields that you could actually ask STR to provide data on, such as, you know, a green hotel or pet-friendly hotel, etc. Now I just want to give you a little bit of an overview of hotel industry metrics. Some of this is already familiar to you, but just to give you a bit of a refresher. So when we talk about supply, we're talking about how many rooms are available in the market. Now when I go to the STR report, we're going to be looking at how many rooms are available from our competitive set or from our hotel. And then of course demand is how many rooms are sold. Occupancy, demand over supply. ADR is your total revenue divided by demand, or how many rooms you've actually sold. Revenue, RevPAR, room revenue divided by supply. So what is the revenue per available room? And then percentage change. So we're always looking at, well, how have we improved this month from last year? So January this year, how has it improved from January last year? Now index is something that might not be familiar to you. This is what we're going to be looking at with regards to in the STR report. So the index gives us an indication if we're performing better or worse than our competitive set. And I'll be talking about the competitive set in the next recordings. If we use a term penetration, that is our occupancy. A yield, sometimes RevPAR will be referred to as yield. You know, how much revenue are you making from all of your stock, which is your rooms. And another indicator which we'll be looking at further in the STR report is your ranking. And I'll cover more of that in a moment. And then share. How much is your market share? Now, the STR report also has date and times. So when we talk about the week, it's Sunday to Saturday. And then it's the same comparable day, if we're talking about Fridays, it's always Friday to Friday, not necessarily the date system. Weekday, Sunday to Thursday, and generally within, for instance, in the US, the weekend is Friday to Saturday, but it's not necessarily so for all countries. Some countries will have slightly different weekends, so it's important to look at that. If you're making comparisons, from hotels internationally. MTD, from the first to the current day of the month, year to date, running 3 months, or running 12 months, running 28 days, running 4 weeks. So we can look behind, what's happened for the last 3 months, for instance, or what's looking at the last 12 months. So when you have your running 12 months, for instance, it's taking out seasonality, so we can actually look at, trends that are happening. Then we look at definitions with regards to market segments. Groups are defined as having 10 blocks of 10 or more rooms. Transients, that's owning leisure travellers, corporate travellers, contracts, not contracts, sorry. Contracts are separate. Government rates, and then we've got contracts as the third market segment. So rooms sold at rates stipulated by contract. So that like airline crew or your corporate contract rates. And then in addition, we can also look at making comparisons between our food and beverage revenue or any other revenue within the hotel. So that's just a snapshot intro to what we're going to be looking in the next module, which is looking at the STR report. Thank you.